All right, everybody, we're back doing the Whirlpool Duet Dryer. We have a loud squeak, and we're going to be fixing the pulley, most likely. So if this is what you've heard before, then just make sure that you are aware that this is most likely the pulley system. So I assume that you heard that. That's what we're going to be fixing today. So if that's the noise that you hear, then that's what we're going to fix. I have this tool that actually has an insert for the actual screws, so you can take them in and out, but this actually fits perfectly for these three holes, or excuse me, these three screws. You have one there, and you should have one over there. And we're gonna get those out for you. And then this lid is gonna pop right out. Okay, so once you get the top of this off, you should have access to the drum. You should have access to your basically motherboard or the brains of your dryer. You're just going to make sure that everything's connected the right way and kind of do any pictures that you're going to have to take, because I always take pictures of this because everything wants to go back exactly the way you found it. And that's the best way that you can do. Obviously, before you do anything, you want to make sure you unplug the dryer itself. And this is what it's going to look like. Literally, when that top lid, you just have to unscrew those two screws. One was right there, one is right there. You might have one right here. I only have two, but there are three holes, so you actually might have three holes there, or three screws. But then the whole top of it just actually pops right off, kind of slides back, goes into this loop, or sorry, this little notch here. And once that happens, then you just pop it off and just lift it right off. You have full access to the dryer. And this is really simple, but the trick is to just make sure that you take pictures of all this, because you're gonna have to disconnect some of these parts and everything. So we'll do that next. Okay, so once we have this all off, we're actually going to be taking off the control panel side, but it's also connected. The control panel and the motherboard they're all connected by this screw. But in order to do that, you have to do one screw, two screw, three screw here. This is also one solid piece all the way around the dryer here. So it actually looks like it's independent. It's pretty easy to pop off. You're just gonna get your hand underneath there and pop the top off like that. And it's gonna have some brackets, which most likely you're gonna break. And I've been in this dryer so many times that most of mine have broken. So if you have anything that remains, it's fine. I usually end up taping it myself, but this just basically piece just comes off there. And the next, we'll take those screws off. Okay, like I said, you're just gonna remove those screws right here. Gonna screw there, was that one, and there was another screw over there. This whole unit then can, oh, I'm sorry. One other thing you guys have to do is you have to pop this. This is the housing switch. So this is actually connected. It's a real pain in the neck. That's why I'm kind of showing you guys. So you have to get like a little screwdriver set, the mini screwdriver sets. And then you can actually fit it into this little area here, kind of pop that little nut, little clip out, because it actually fits into these little retaining clips. Also, you have to remove this out of the motherboard. So they look like these. So you got the little guy, goes in there like that. Big guy goes in there like that. Be super careful, because these little things right here, right in there, have broken a lot in my day. So just be very gentle with those. It doesn't matter if they break off, you can still use it, but sometimes, since this whole thing gets old, it can start to, vibrate, and sometimes these things will come out. But I've yet to have that happen, but I had to replace this a few years ago, and that was something that I was kind of confused or concerned about. But anyway, once that's done, get all that stuff actually disconnected. You almost kind of just pull this out from this little lip, that little lip guy, and then this whole thing, you can just kind of lay it over to the side like that, and it should stay pretty. It should stay pretty stationary, just like that. Kind of just, you know, lay it on this thing like that, and then you kind of have it just kind of a working station. That's fine because of all these other things underneath it. You should be okay. The next piece that comes off is actually the housing for the control board, and that is quite easy. You just actually have to pull up on this. You just pull straight up with both hands, and it kind of just pops out. So you'd be actually taking one hand here and one hand over here. All right, and then you just lift up, and it actually has these little tabbies you can actually see right in there that actually slide in and out. So it's very easy. One of the easier things Whirlpool ever did from a disassembly. And once that's done, then we'll start breaking down the rest of this thing so we can actually get to the dryer assembly and some of the lint catcher and all that stuff. See you in a bit. All right, so now we have the top of that off. You should just lift it off. If you take the door switch off and those two actual connections into the motherboard at the top, that's what it should look like. It should basically be off, and you can just go set that aside. The next thing we have to do is do not remove these screws yet. There should be two there. That's the last thing you do, all right? Otherwise, this thing is too heavy, and you want to take it off from the bottom up, all right? So these actually have two screws there, one right there, and one right there. We're gonna take that off. This is very easy to come off. Basically, once those screws are done, this just pops right off. So you can see I've actually had some tape because these are what those, I mentioned this before, these kind of almost bracketings or clippings or something like that. But I've replaced these so many times that it's just like, it's ridiculous, and it becomes a real pain in the neck. So, you know, you do what you guys wanna do. Try to be very careful taking off the, I guess the sheathing or the area that actually connects to the control board, and you guys do with that as you will. But I'm gonna go take this off. We'll be back in a second. Okay. All right. So we have this actually off. I always keep my screws with everything piece. I'm actually gonna put it out there in the living room, or the kitchenette. But the screws are always important. That's probably one of the things that you'll end up doing the most, is trying to figure out which screws go to which. So always keep those together. Once you have that off, you'll actually have access to the blower housing, and inside is the blower wheel. As you can see, even just like, I guess it's been about 3 years since I've been in here, this can start to collect. So this is a great opportunity to clean up anything too. So that's the best thing. You can actually see back there the idler, which is basically what it is. It's an idler wheel or idler pulley. And most likely that's my problem. That's what it was last time. And they basically don't, they don't last very long, especially if you're using it as much as we do. So that's where that's going to be. I've tried to get my hands in there before to try to get access to it, but it's way too difficult to do it like this. So what I'm going to do is take off everything here from the standpoint of the front here, and that way it'll give me more access to it. And then we'll kind of go from there. Otherwise, you're going to see too much of a problem with trying to get your hands back there. I have mechanics gloves. I'll show those to you in a second. It's probably the best thing to do as far as safety. And you can kind of see where it's at there. There are some drum rollers. There are also sometimes they can get a little bit squeaky, but that have never had a problem with the drum rollers. It's always the idler pulley. So anyway, so in order to get this off, we're going to take off this screw, and then there should be one right there, which is basically the one that mounts to the actual dryer itself. Other than that, that's just going onto the wheel. So we're going to take those off. This is a pain in the neck as well. So you want to have your little screwdriver to get inside there to kind of pop that sucker open without breaking it. Other than that, it's very, very simple. But if you can get that sucker off, then you're good to go. All right, now that we have all these actually taken care of, this is actually the only really independent one. Sometimes you might have another actual switch actually connected. Mine's actually off of the blower. Sometimes you'll see other different, depending on the model or where your grounds are. Mine's grounded independently over there. And then you actually have access to some of the thermostat and the heating element, but really if you're going to get into the heating element, you have to deal with that separately, and you also have to take everything off of here as well anyway. So once that's done, you want to take this screw off, and then up here you actually have you loosen these, and you loosen this guy too. All right, once you loosen them, it's kind of like almost like a keyhole, and you do not want to remove them, because otherwise this whole thing will fall out on top of you, which is kind of a safety piece. Once you loosen that, so you take off these, loosen those, all right, and then you're gonna stand up and you're gonna actually lift this whole unit up. The drum is actually gonna be attached to this, so it's gonna be pretty heavy, but basically once you disconnect it, so you can lift up, the drum's gonna feel like the whole drum's gonna move up a little bit, but then it's gonna kind of break loose slightly, and then you can just take this whole piece away. That's the next part. We'll see you guys in a bit. Good luck. Before I took anything off, I did want to show you guys that you do want to kind of take a look in there. So you want to take actually your hand and just spin the drum. All right, you're going to know pretty quick if it's the idler pulley, because it'll make this noise. That's idler pulley all the way. Most likely that's not the wheels or the drum rollers. Very, very rarely does that noise. Is it the drum itself? So, but just kind of spin it back and forth, and you can kind of hear the idler pulley, and that thing's gone. So at least we verified that, so we're doing all this the right way. So anyway, just wanted you guys let you know. Oh, take out the lint trap too. So you actually take the lint trap out, and then you can again clean everything while you have this opportunity. It'll make everything run better, including your heating element. All right, we've got the top of this thing basically off now. So you actually, there's too much tension on here, and this is actually going around the drum down to the idler pulley, which we've actually shown you guys. So I always take a picture of what the idler pulley looks like, because it's something that you can actually see, and then also you can actually make sure that you put it back the same way, since it's actually going through there. So that's what you really want to make sure you do. So, because you're going to be reaching your hands in there to detach that. If you see, there's a little spring right there, which means you're going to pull the idler pulley this way to kind of, or get this, put it this way. So actually the spring kind of goes a little bit too hard, and then you're going to detach it from the top as it goes around. There's like a black screw in the back, and that's the other thing it's going to go around. So it's going to kind of loop like this. It's going to go like that, down, around, and then back out, as you can see. That's kind of what it is. That's what it looks like. That's what we're doing next. This whole thing's gonna come off. So you can actually see it kind of moves. That's the way it is. This actually moves the blower as well, so you can clean that out as well. And that's what we're doing next. So here we have the exposed dryer. That's the motor right there. Right there, it looks good. It's very rare this goes out. If this goes out, you might as well just buy a new one, buy a whole new dryer. But this thing is yet to go out on me, knock on wood. You just want to ensure everything is good here, and we'll get to this in a second. There's the blower wheel, and obviously where it's actually taking care of all of the debris and heat. That's where your lint catcher is so important, all this stuff. This is your heating, there's your thermostats and all that stuff. That's a different video. You do want to spin these, even though I know mine's not the problem. These are the rear rollers. They're not making any of those screeching things. They seem to be moving pretty independently. You can put a little grease on them if you want, but I mean, like, I've got a little bit of grease I can put on those things, just some silicone, just maybe a drop or two. And of course, you also saw the ones on your drum as well. excuse me, the entire unit that actually just came off the door, so that you'll actually have two of those wheels, or drum wheels, actually that was sitting on top. It'll be kind of almost, it'll be about here on the drum. So I took the opportunity to clean it. So that's what it looks like after cleaning. It looked really bad, so I was pretty happy I could get in there and kind of clean it up a little bit. So it's looking pretty much like it does when it's new, but I want to show you guys. So here's the idler wheel right there. It's on a spring. We'll get to that in a second, but look at this. It doesn't even move, okay? And what it's supposed to look like is this. It's supposed to look, see how it just spins? Okay, this one, it's all just messed, doesn't barely even move. That's where your screech is. Some people say you can put some grease in there, but I just bought one. I got an entire idler set with another wheel, and I got another tension drum scenario there too. So basically almost everything's in there. So of course it's made in China. But anyway, that's the way it is. You've got some other pieces. Got this 15 bucks on Amazon. Came in a day. So, and in this world, something coming in a day is pretty great. So anyway, that's what that's supposed to look like. And that's really going to take care of your squeal there for you. All right, so next we're going to show you how to get at that idler pulley wheel. Okay, so what we have here is another part that's very tension oriented. So you actually have a spring here, all right? And it's anchored to here, if you can see it. It's also anchored in the back. You can see that as well. You're gonna wanna wear mechanics gloves. Of course, mine are not here. When you do this, otherwise you're gonna cut yourself. I'm gonna take this whole piece off. So this is all one piece, all right? And when that comes off, basically the tension's there. Then you're gonna have a screw right there. That's the only thing that's really kind of, keeping it in there. So that's where you're actually gonna get that screw off of there. And once that's done, you're just gonna replace the whole deal, just like I showed you before, with an entire new idler pulley wheel. So you're gonna find the actual coordinating nut to go and basically just use either a wrench, doesn't matter what you got. It's just one piece there, and that's going to basically go away. This is the other part that has the tension drum rope, so that's going to actually be part of that for you as well. That's where it's going to have to go around, and then we'll show you how it all looks like when it's done. All right, so take that spring off, and then unscrew it, and you should be good to go. All right, I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. All right, so now that I have my glasses on, it's a 10 millimeter metric, basically the size of the nut that you're gonna take off. And it's actually pretty simple to get off. I don't really remember this being more of a pain in the neck, but I think I've done this so many times now, it's a little less of a pain in the neck. So this is what it looks like when it's done. You have the spring mounted again, so it should be looking pretty much like this. That's where it goes, all in that zone, just like that. And then your spring mounts just like that. And then your pulley, your idler pulley, no squeak. So we're good to go. Just make sure the tension's in there, so you're good to go. Other than that, I mean, if you want to, you can put a little grease in there. But it's just, I mean, it's up to you guys. It's not, doesn't call for it or anything of that nature. I've seen some videos where they don't even replace this. They just put actually some grease in there or some sort of a lubricant. But that's what it looks like. And again, clean it all up. Spin these things. Make sure there's nothing going on there. Other than that, we're gonna put this thing back together. I am going to tell you, and this is the thing that no one tells you about this, the next part is really the pain in the neck, because you got to fit your arms in here like this underneath and try to get to this this pulley with the drum basically hovering over top of you. So we have the idler pulley back in. You just want to rotate the drum just so you can hear it. No squeaking. Your blower wheel is actually spinning. That means you're in the right place. So the whole drum is moving. No squeak. And of course, this thing has not been placed all back together yet, so that's what it's supposed to look like. That's what it's supposed to sound like, no squeak. All right, so now we actually have the drum back in as we showed in the prior video, and now we have the actual blower mount and door hatch that actually attach. Make sure that your wheels are aligned properly when you're actually putting this back in. And when you spin it, when this spins, the wheel, the actual wheel, the motor wheel or the blower wheel actually spins. We don't have any screeching or squealing or any of that metal grinding type of a noise. Remember, this is just actually sitting on this. These are actually loose. So we're gonna go ahead and put it back together and see how we did. So we're gonna remount these two here. Those are gonna be mounted, excuse me, they're gonna be connected. And then we're going to remount these screws. You actually have a screw up here, up there, and we're gonna screw it right here, and a screw right here. And then we're also gonna put these screws back in, and we're gonna tighten these. And then we're gonna put the top back on, but I'll check back in with you guys in a second, see how it all looks. Okay, so we're almost done here. We have the top actually slides back in, so it's basically these two little metal slots over here. So that just slides right back on top. That should have been pretty easy for you guys. Got all the screws all done. Now from a reconnection perspective, you want this to be reconnected. So you put that back in there, make sure that everything has been, nothing got, locked in, or when you reassembled anything, you want to make sure everything is kind of the way it was when you put it together. Like I said before, I recommend taking pictures before you do anything, so that way you're trying to put it back exactly the way the manufacturers wanted it. So we put those screws back in, and we got the screws in there for the housing, all those deals. We got these screws actually all put back in over there as well. This guy's back on. We reconnected this, which is I think one of them's the door switch, and the other one is I think a moisture sensor or something like that. And then this is, actually maybe this is the door switch. I can't remember, I get them all mixed up. But anyway, reconnect them. That's what you want to do. Doesn't really matter, as long as they go back in the same slots and you took pictures of it anywhere. Ensure that all of these connections are still solid. They shouldn't have been touched, but you didn't put any real tension on them, so I think they should be okay. Other than that, I think probably we'll put the top back on. I always do this one more time just to ensure before I start putting it together. Just spin the drum. No screeching, so that's good. Other than that, I'm gonna put the lid on here, and then we're going to start this thing up and see what's going on. All right, we've got everything back together again. We got the lid on. We have the front paneling on. Looks like everything's there. Let's see if we have the dryer plugged back in again. We're gonna hit power. Looks like we get it on time dry. We're gonna go and listen for the screeching. I've always had a little vibration in this. That's not what the screeching sound is. So we fix the auger pulley. I'm just gonna wait and see if we have any heat. Let this thing kind of, I usually feel down here. This is the closest to the heating element. And we have heat, folks. No screeching. Another successful fixing of the dryer. Let's see. Let's pause this. Let's see if we got heat in there. Lots of heat. Lots of heat, actually. It's gonna probably smell a little smoky since you cleaned a lot of stuff, so you have some lint in there like this, but for the most part, everything is perfect. So I hope that helps, guys. We have now replaced a pulley auger, the auger pulley, good Lord. And this one is now garbage. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it, and we will give you more updates later.